Baby foods can be really useful, so particularly if you're out and about or you're traveling, going on holiday, they are a real kind of convenience food and can be great when you are on the go. They all have to go through quite strict legislation processes, so they're certainly not harmful for your babies. The difference between shop-bought baby food and the food that you would make yourself at home is that it will taste very different. So even if it says the same sort of thing on the label, I can guarantee you that if you were to cook those same ingredients at home yourself, it would taste quite different. And so that's where, if you are relying quite often on things like baby jars and baby pouches, it can be more tricky to get your babies used to your home cooking when they're older or when you try to make that transition. So whilst they can be a really good thing for convenience and when you're out and about, it's probably best not to rely on them too often if you're wanting to get them onto your family foods when they're a little bit older. The other advantage of doing your own homemade baby foods is that you can really control what goes into those foods, and you can control the texture as well. So you can make sure that the texture is completely appropriate for the stage that your baby is at. A lot of the baby foods as well will, even if they kind of say that they are quite vegetable based, they will often add lots of fruits into those pouches or jars to make them taste a bit sweeter. And that therefore means that the baby might particularly enjoy it and want to eat more of it. So it's always worth just checking the ingredients list at the back, because if it says something like peas and parsnips, it might also have quite a quantity of something like apples or pears in there to give it a little bit of natural sweetness, which might be different to what you would want to be doing at home. So always check the ingredients list at the back. And the other thing to say is that if you are giving jars, or particularly with the pouches, to try and make sure that you still pour the food into a bowl and allow them to kind of physically see the food and to eat it with a spoon, so that you're still getting that kind of mealtime environment. You're still getting the exposure to that food through looking at the food and giving them the chance to kind of play with it, touch it, smell it. Sometimes it can be really tempting to feed food directly out of the baby pouch, and if you do that, although you might be saving on time and mess, actually you've taken away quite a lot of that exposure for the baby. So they don't get to see the food, they don't get to touch it or smell it. It just goes directly into their tummy without them ever seeing it. So my advice would be, if you are using the jars and the pouches, is to always try and make it a kind of sit down mealtime environment where they're able to kind of have exposure to the food through all of their senses.